Live. Welcome. This is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. Today is Tuesday. It is, let's see, I got to get the date here. The date is the 20th. So 5 days till Christmas. I have not even been thinking about that, which probably why I haven't gotten much of my Christmas shopping done yet. What a day. What a day we had here today. We've had a lot of cloudy weather, and it's been a little on the cold side, in the 20s. Not super cold, but it's been, with overcast, it's not as much fun. Let's see. Have we got the chat on? Let's see if anybody is hearing me here. Sounds like we're doing okay. I had a great day today. I had a really great day today. And let me tell you why. I am in the back room of the house, which is now called the office, right? The back room was where we had 3 freezers in here. We used to store the milk in here from the milking operation, which is over in the barn. So why we were bringing the milk up here is because that's just how we were doing it. We started off just milking one cow, and so we didn't really have all that much milk, 3-4 gallons you'd haul up here, not a big deal. And it was just for the house. And then we had a couple of people that we were supplying milk to. Well, now there's Jill's desk. I wonder if I can swing this over and show you. I think I can. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. There's Jill's desk. And you can see it's still kind of a bit of a mess going. All the tools and the stuff on my table, it doesn't maybe not seem like that, like we have it all squared away. But, uh-oh. There we go. Uh-oh, something's wrong. Pair of headphones back there that it's sitting on. But I'm feeling really good because the desk with all of Jill's stuff in it for tracking this homestead operation was in the living room. And the living room is where the couch is. And that's where the TV is. And so that was where we would, try to, we'd sit in there. And that's where, if I'm going to watch TV, that's where I go. Right. So now that the desk is out of there and back here, that means that we can do something else in that room. And that room really needs some TLC. It's got a really terrible ceiling in it, and it needs to be straightened out. But the desk and everything around the desk, the file cabinet, and just the mountains of things has been really not something that I wanted in that room. Neither of us wanted it in that room, but that's what we had, and that's what we had to do. We started out on the kitchen table and then got this desk and then said, well, let's put it in here for now. And that's what we did. So, but now that it's back here, it frees up a lot of space in that room, which I want to do something with. But back here, which was the studio, I guess, it really looks great from your point of view, but I was on concrete. It's just an old concrete floor. And so I'd have to get a piece of cardboard to put my feet on because they'd get cold. And I have this little heater right here going. And there's still a few things to do in this room. But now my feet are on a floor, right? So I started last week and I started building the subfloor, and I started over there. We had to move everything out of here, and I built to halfway, a little more than halfway, and then painted it, right? And then hauled the desk out of the living room, put it in here with all of the stuff that goes with it. It's not all here yet. There's still a couple of drawers not in there yet, because it's getting organized and all that stuff. And where I am was still a concrete floor, but a buddy of mine, guy that I've known for quite a long time, has just recently come to my rescue when he says he heard about the trusses blew over, and he called me and says, "Hey, you need some help with that?" And I'm not real good at asking for help, or I haven't been. I haven't been real good at asking for help. And that's probably a mistake, because people do want to help. They want to help us. So I said, yeah, I do want some help. And he came over, and he's a professional carpenter. And so we got it back up, and then he shored it all up for me and did all this stuff, and then said, "Hey, you should do this, this, and this." And so I did that, and then I went and got the materials. He showed up and helped me put the materials on. Actually, I helped him. And now that project is done. That's done. Not completely. There's some things that need to be done. Like I got to run the electric in there, but I can do that. But anyway, Matt came today, and we were going to work on the butcher shop. But I said, "Hey, can we finish this up?" And he was like, "Yeah, fine." And I had some things to do. I had to milk today. I had run down to the next town over to get building materials for the butcher shop. And I got that all home about the time Matt got here. And I just felt like we got to get this finished. And so I milked. He worked in here. I had a meeting with Joe, about media and stuff like that. And then I had to take a couple phone calls, and I had to fix something. And end of the day comes, and Matt's done. He's done with the floor, and it looks really good. So if you don't know what goes into that, you've got to put furring strips down on the floor, and we use 2x4s laid flat. And then in between the 2x4s, we put insulation. So the insulation that we used was that 1.5 inch rigid insulation. Hey, is my chat working? Can anybody chime in on the chat? I see people are here, but I don't see anybody saying good evening like you usually do. Let me know if the chat, is that a bat? No, it's a moth. Well, that just shows it's getting warm in here because a moth is flying around. So anyway, the floor is in, and it makes me feel really good because it's something that's done. And we learned a lot. We identified a lot while we were doing it. So anyway, we put the furring strips down. You have to shoot them into the floor with one of these. You put a 22 shell in here, and then you put a nail in here, one of these nails, and then you close it up, and you hit it with a hammer, and it sets off the 22 shell, and it drives the nail, and that secures the furring strip to the floor, to the concrete floor, and then you lay that insulation in between it, and then what goes over that is the subfloor, which is OSB. It's that particle board or wafer board, 3/4 inch wafer board. And then you screw that all down. Use a little construction adhesive here and there to make it really solid. And it's done. So that job is done. I have to paint this section of the floor, and I will do that tomorrow. But we were able to move the table back over here, and it's just like my feet are warm. I'm warm. I'm actually warm. And usually when you're back here, it's cold because the floor is like a heat sink. It just draws the heat right out of the air. There's another thing that I need to do, and I'd like to do that this week, is I want to get insulation on top of the ceiling here. And I'll probably use like a blow-in insulation. And while I have that blow-in machine, I'm going to blow in insulation down in the butcher shop on top of the ceiling down there. And I'm going to blow it in the ceiling on the second story of the house because there's very little insulation up there. So it just makes me feel really good because it opened up more of the house to usable space. This really wasn't that usable with the concrete floor. The dog slept back here. You walked out here in the morning to go swimming in your bare feet, and it was just cold. It's still going to be cold going from here out to the pool. Is my chat not working here? Can anybody tell me if my chat is working here? Okay, now I got chat overlay. New comments will display here. All right, somebody chat. Somebody do a little chatting here so I can tell if you're working. But I can see people are listening to me, so I'll just keep going. If you don't want to say anything, that's fine. Oh, yeah, there we go. Luann Hoffman, 5x5. All right, off grid with Dave and Sonia. All right, so it is working. Let's see if I go to... No, it's not showing up on the overlay. I wonder what is going on. All right, I'll leave it there. I can read it. That's fine. Lenny Racine's with us saying yes. Boy, that is a big moth flying around in here. It almost looks like a bat. You guys should see that. It's very distracting. All right. So that's done, and I feel really good about that. And I'm very thankful that Matt has come into our farm. He's come into our world here and offered to help. And I am very thankful. I'm very thankful because here's 2 jobs that are complete, and I just feel like, oh, okay, we're moving forward. So tomorrow, I have to butcher 2 pigs, and it's hard when you have unfinished jobs. So the way it works is you have construction, you have the construction department, you have maintenance department, and then you have operations. And I've had to fill all 3 slots. So I can't put off butchering because that's how we make the dollars to pay for the building materials to do the construction. So it all has to happen, but a lot of times stuff gets done halfway. And right now, they say that a big storm is bearing down on us. So the maintenance department has to get going tomorrow. They have to get really motivated here, and that's me. So I have to get a lot of firewood in. I have to get things covered up that need to be covered up, and I have to prepare for snow. That's all there is. Like you got to shut barn doors and things like that so you don't fill up with snow. I don't mind getting a little bit of snow. That doesn't bother me. I got to put the plow on my truck, which that's not the way I wanted that to go. All right. Nancy's with us. Belva's with us. Luann is saying, how do you like Penny Kelly's look? See, I sent you. That was good. That was good. All the stuff you send me is good. Lenny. All right, cool. Well, it's not working the way it usually does. I'm reading you over just to the right of my picture. Usually it's over in this chat column, and that's not happening. So it's a good thing I have my glasses, but we'll work around it. So what's nice about this being warm back here now is I can close the door if I need to, and I'm going to need to in a minute. because they're doing something out there that is making a lot of noise. All right, I'm feeling really good. I am feeling really good, and I hope you guys are too. I just feel like as much as we're hearing, I'm going to close the door. As much as we're hearing that our country's having problems right now, I think the key to that is just to not be discouraged. Just make just make your mind up that you're not going to be discouraged no matter what. Always look for something that's going good. I was talking to a friend of mine today from way back that I went to second grade with, and we lived close to each other. And he said, "No, I don't complain about my employees. I don't complain about the lack of work. I don't complain about any of that stuff. And it seems like things just click along." And I said, "Yeah, me too. That's kind of what I do. I don't really pay attention to what all they're saying out there. I mean, I listen to it, but I say, well, how does that affect my operation and what I'm doing?" And most times it doesn't. So I just continue on with what I'm doing. If I got discouraged and I did nothing, then I'd be saying, "Oh, I need to get that done. I need to get that done. I need to get that done, that done, that done." Because really, my homestead operation, our homestead operation, is just a compilation of tasks. And each task requires a process, right? So you want to put down a floor. All right. Well, first of all, let's prioritize things. You know, does this floor need to be done, or does the firewood need to be, secured for the year? I'd say let's get the firewood first because we didn't know when it was going to snow. We never do, right? I definitely got more firewood than I need. Probably about half again what I need. And I did that on purpose because it could be a cold winter. And okay, the equipment shed outside for our equipment to go in, that had to happen because we were not going to be able to store the equipment in the machinery shed because that was going to become the butcher shop, the new butcher shop, the much bigger, new and improved, heated, concrete floor butcher shop, really nice butcher shop. And we're gonna be working on that the day after tomorrow. So we're gonna be working on that Thursday. And hopefully I can walk you guys through that and show it to you. So we really had to get the machinery shed done, and now it's done. And I got a tractor in there and the Jeep in there, and it's all safe. A lot of the fencing stuff is in there, and it's good. You can't just leave stuff like that out all winter and expect it to perform for you the next year. It's just not going to happen. So we had to free up some space, and it actually had to be done. And now it's done. And then the floor is done. So I'm feeling really good about that. All right. So our conversation tonight, the title is Thinking Outside the Box for Homestead Success. And I had some help with this. Jill helped me with this, and then suggested that we go here and here and here. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Because I could have talked about this 2 years ago, and I would have a lot different input into this subject this year than I did 2 years ago, or even a year ago, because things changed. It's constantly changing. Tonight's show is brought to you by the Anyone Can Farm Tribe Plus. And if you don't know what that is, the Tribe Plus is, you go to the Anyone Can Farm Experience.com and look under Tribe Plus. Click on that and go through the steps to join the Tribe Plus. Put you on the inner circle, and all the information that is there is available to you at either no charge or a very reduced charge. And we are adding to that all the time. Now, I've got to tell you that my main guy, Joe, my son, my second oldest son, that's handling our media, I hope that he handles our media as his lifelong profession. Unfortunately, what has happened is he has to make a living, right? And we're in a startup mode. You know, we don't, you know, we don't have a pile of money to draw off of. My videos just became monetized, right? We switched from Baker's Green Acres to the Anyone Can Farm experience because we felt as though our channel was throttled badly. And I'm not sure if we were correct on that. I really don't know what the key is, but just recently we went over 10,000 subscribers, or is it 1,000 subscribers? Yeah, I think it's 1,000. And now we're monetized. All right. Or is it 10,000? I don't know. But now we're monetized. So, you know, you make $20 a month. And it's nice. I'm not complaining, but it's really not paying enough for us to tighten Joe up. So Jill and I are doing that on our own, what we can. But Joe has had to make a living, you know, so he's very good at videography and photography, really good. And he mixes good with people. He's very talented. And he's gotten kind of swished out from under us by another photographer that does weddings and things like that. But I understand that the weddings are coming to a close and he needed a little rest. You know, his wife just had a baby and, you know, they're just starting out living in a yurt. He's just changed career fields. So all of this is new to him, but he's handling it, you know, so you can expect more content to be fired into the Tribe Plus as time goes by. But in the meantime, just know that if you're a member of Tribe Plus, you're actually funding this operation. So even though, you know, there might not be what you're looking for there now, you're part of the tribe. You're part of the inner circle. And so when you say, hey, could you give us some information on X? Then I'll just funnel it right to Joe. And then it's on him to, you know, to put it in a priority sequence. But we are all about competence, confidence, and community. We're all about that. And that's the direction that we're going. So I think things are going pretty well. You know, I'm able to maintain a level of optimism because of this tribe. I don't know how to explain that. It's because there were times when I thought, gee, all is kind of lost. I don't know how this is ever going to, you know, straighten itself out. But that's why we want to talk about thinking outside of the box. That's why we want to talk about that. Okay. So this conversation, I am coveting your input, please. Hey, you know what? The thing about this is, okay, cool. This chat overlay, there's our logo is right in the way of whoever's made the last statement or question. So whoever put the last question in, I can't see it. So someone else needs to do something. So it moves it down a little bit. All right. But I'm going to ask you for your input on this subject because we are talking about things that are outside of the guardrails that exist in everyday life. Excuse me 1 minute. I've got to see to a dog outside this door. Go on. Go on. Get. Go on. All right, cool. What that was is the dogs like to stay close for some reason. I think because of the storm coming or something, maybe. And there was a dog laying right outside that door there with a great big bone chewing it. And it was distracting me. I'm like that. Repetitive noises kind of irritate me. And I knew that that would go on for the entire hour, so I had to do something about it. Look, we're almost a half an hour in. All right, so let's talk about thinking outside the box, because that gets said an awful lot, but what is the box? What is the box? That's kind of a rhetorical question. But I'd like your input on that. Where does the box come from? Right? Does it come from us, or is it outside of us? Okay, the older I get in this, the more experience I get in this, the more I start to see that things that I have heard throughout my life, just statements, create that box that we live in. So a statement like, there ain't no money in farming, like, where did that come from? Why is that so prevalent? Why do you hear that so much? That there ain't no money in farming, or something to that effect. Why do we hear that? I don't know. I didn't originate it. And I will tell you, though, when I first started this, I remember we bought this farm with the intention of doing a lot of things. When I got here, I got kind of overwhelmed. And I got a phone call from a business in Cadillac, and they just found out that I'd just gotten out of the service. And they said, hey, can you come in for a job interview? Looking for a job? And not really, but I was impressed that somebody wanted me, you know? And so I went, and I was still impressed that they wanted me. And they showed me around, and I liked the uniforms that the guys wore, and they were offering what I thought was a tremendous amount of money. And I said, okay, I'll do it for a while. But I remember saying to the guy that interviewed me, he was the plant manager, I said, well, there's not much money in farming. I remember saying that. And like, I had no idea that there was no money in farming, but I had heard that. And everybody says that. They actually call it the farmer's wine. The farmer's wine, right? And here's how things went. I had people come to me and say, well, so-and-so, if you contact them, they can help you put in hog houses. And can't access the box. Okay, wait a minute. And I'm going to have to back that up and look, or can I? I don't even know if. This is kind of strange. Yeah, I can't back it up. Can't. I hate to say that word. Can't. Okay, so let me just finish. As we went along, we had people come to us, and they were from conventional farming, I would say, and say, you could do this, and you could do this, and oh, so and so is hiring over here. So it seemed like there was a lot of choices, but the choices were really just Coke and Pepsi. You know what I'm saying by that? It wasn't anything really different. It wasn't outside of the box. It was within the parameters of, the left hand and the right hand. On the highway, you got a guardrail on this side, guardrail on this side. It wasn't outside of that, right? And when we had ideas about doing something different, then we were told that, well, you've got to check with these guys. And, when we would check with that department, they would say, oh, well, here's the rules for that. And so the rules really kind of set a guardrail for you. They set the parameters of what you can do. And it didn't seem, it seemed like, well, I've just been put into a stadium with about a bunch of other people in the stadium that are also trying to do what I'm trying to do, and now we're competing. It sort of reminds me of pictures I've seen of people climbing Mount Everest, and you go there, and then you find out there's a there's 500 people in front of me. It's like the golden staircase, you know. So everybody had these ideas about climbing Mount Everest, but you all converged on Mount Everest at the same time. Now you're walking in a line. And then you come down and you say, well, I climbed Mount Everest. Really? Yeah. All I did was walk in front of the guy and in behind the guy in front of me. That's all I did. One step. Yeah, it was boring and it was slow. And yeah, it's not, that type of thing. So that's kind of where I was for quite a long time. And I expanded my parameters by reading books, the Polyface people, the books that they came out with, Joel Salatin's books. That helped me for sure. That expanded my idea of there's more to do here than just what the people around here are doing. And when I did expand my parameters and people, oh, that's a good idea. And I would say, well, it's not really my idea, but they didn't know that, and things have changed where those books have permeated society more. And when you say the word chicken tractor, people don't kind of look at you like chicken tractor, a chicken and a tractor. How do those go together? So people kind of know what that is now. And the box, I think, is something that you really have to work to get outside of the box. You really do. And I think that a lot of times it can be a mental brainstorming when you just say, just an idea, an idea, an idea, an idea. And they don't even have to be good ideas, because sometimes you'll say something and it sparks something else, some other way of looking at a problem that you're trying to find a solution for. And the entire farming process is, at least for me anyway, is I am creating goals for myself to attain. And a lot of times, like, they're just pieces, just a small piece. Like, okay, this office, for instance, this office was a folder that sat on the kitchen table. That's where it began. And before that, it was just right here. I was just thinking stuff, and then Jill finally kind of started keeping books, keeping records of how much feed we were buying, how much money we were taking in, how much was going out, and stuff like that. Because at first, we didn't know anything about that. We really didn't. We just kind of didn't see the importance of all that. That was kind of secondary. Now it's not secondary anymore, because you have to know, is what I'm doing profitable or not? Right? So some people don't care about that, but I do at this stage of the game. Am I doing stuff that is profitable? So it's real important to keep these records. So now we have a separate room, and it has a floor in it, and it has lights in it, and it's warm. I'm warm in here. So you could come in here and you could do paperwork, and it'd be kind of nice. So actually, we have a friend that is an accountant, and he loves being an accountant. Maybe I would too if I understood it, but I that's not me. But he loves being an accountant, and he came and helped yesterday. So we had the brand new office, and he came and was able to sit in here and be left alone. So you didn't have to sit in the living room next to the piano while Rachel's practicing, and people are coming or going and all that. He was able to be back here, which this actually has a separate entrance. So it's actually separate from the house. You don't have to go traipsing through the kitchen, and right next to my bedroom to be working the accounting. So anyway, it's definitely outside the box. Maybe not. All right. So when we need to break through and get outside of the box, I think, right, that it's helpful if you develop techniques. This is just for me, a couple of techniques that really work well. One is developing a problem, that you need a solution to, right? And your problem is, how do I build a chicken tractor that's easily movable by a 14-year-old kid, and I can build it for $200 and it will last 10 years? How do I do that? Well, ask yourself the question, how do I do that? And then let your subconscious work on it. I'm not kidding. Let your subconscious work on it. But you have to set the goals. So like the chicken tractors that I built, you guys know I'm on my generation 5, and I have arrived. Generation 5 is the premium chicken tractor. I would put it up against anybody's chicken tractors as far as cost, weight, durability, functionality. We had that massive storm that blew the clear span to pieces. Those chicken tractors didn't move an inch. And we had a class here. So we got to go out and look at them the next day. And I thought, oh, this could be ugly if those things got torn to pieces. And they had chickens in them too, but they didn't. And the chickens were like, yeah, storm? What storm? We didn't know any. It was so, very tested. But that design didn't come from a set of plans that I sent away for, remember when you were a kid, you'd send away for stuff. Where did you send away to? Battle Creek, Michigan. And now I've been to Battle Creek, Michigan. We always sent away for stuff. Battle Creek, Michigan. What a name, Battle Creek. But I didn't send away for those. I posed the question to myself, and then I started to think about it. And it was just pieces that came. I haven't seen anybody that's built a chicken tractor the way this one has been built. I haven't seen it. So it's kind of a unique design. And there was something else along the way. Keith said to me, hey, you could make skids on the back of it out of a piece of flexible PVC pipe. You said that to me one time. I think maybe it was on the phone. And I was, it kind of permeated my skull. And sure enough, I tried that. I cut a piece of flexible PVC pipe about 24 inches, and I put it on the rear of the chicken tractor, right under where it would skid when you pick the front of it up. And boy, don't you know, that really worked out good, because it skids along at a good rate. If you put wheels on it, it gets stuck, and then all of a sudden it comes too fast. So you want it to skid, but if there's too much resistance, then you have to put too much back into it. Too much back into it means that you're putting too much stress on it, and so it doesn't hold together well. All right, so anyway, I'm just using the chicken tractor as an example, but that chicken tractor has pieces of it that are way outside of the box. And the box is everything that is known at this point. So you can get online and you can look at chicken tractor designs, and you'll see some of it that we've used, some of it. But then other parts, it's like, whoa, this is definitely unique. You don't see this on any other chicken tractors. So, uh, and it works good for us. It's a good design for a chicken tractor. Therefore, uh, the operations people that are moving the chicken tractors, my kids, um, they don't hate their job because they're trying to move something that weighs a ton and they just hate it. No, they kind of like it compared to the old ones that they hated. And the ones before that, everybody hated, especially me. The first ones were built out of reinforcing rod, 3/8 re-rod. Yeah, put together, bent and welded. And the welds would break. And so I would wind up taking my welder out to the field and welding it back together. And I got to think, there's no way this is how we're going to do this. There's got to be a better way. What is that better way? I don't know. Let's think about that. And yeah, now we have a really good design, but it's outside of the box. But you don't get outside of the box just by saying, I'm going to think outside. You have to press it. You have to think about it and almost throw dumb ideas. You almost have to do that. And maybe there's a part of that idea that will, hey, I know, maybe we could use electrical conduit on this. That stuff's cheap and it's light. Hey, yeah, I don't know. Let's try it. Actually, the first time I used electrical conduit to build anything like this, it was a door that I built for a chicken house. And I used the electrical conduit as a way to reinforce the door up, going from the outside corner to the top corner. I pushed it up and put screws in through it, and it kept the door from sagging. And that door is still around. And I thought, wow, that's a good way of doing things. And so we've just expanded on that, and that's where we got to where we are with the chicken tractors. And that's just an example. I mean, I think of things, my kids think of things, they see what I've done, and then they build on that. I see what they've done, I build on that. People that come to the farm see things. I tell you what, having a guy like Matt come and look at what we need to do, and I say to him, well, what do you think we ought to do? And he'll just, I think you ought to do, okay, let's do it. Good idea. And now I'm bringing in all kinds of other ideas, that are very, very helpful. And I really like this because the whole inspirational thing, when it's always my ideas, I maybe get tired of my ideas. Once in a while I'll do something like, and I'll get a big bang out of it. Yeah, I get maybe more than once in a while, because last night I had a major, major victory. But it came it took a long time. And I'll go over that in a minute. But other people's ideas spark my ideas, and my ideas spark other ideas. And then, a phone, for goodness sakes, looking at what other homesteaders do. Holy smokes. There's just such a wealth of information out there. It's just unbelievable. Let's see. I better start reading some of this. Thought you were talking to me for a minute there. Yes, I did. Shaw, did you try your phone? Getting out of the box a lot of times requires a dark night of the soul experience. Yeah. I'm really sorry, you guys, that this chat is not working and I cannot control the scrolling of this. All right. So I had a thing that I did And you guys were with we were doing this show at the time, and this wouldn't have been last winter, it was the winter before. And the winter before that, we had got this wood stove that we have. Need is the mother of invention, right on, Ghost. Um, and this wood stove that we have now, I saw it on Marketplace, and it was perfect for what I wanted. It was long enough, the door was on the correct side, and I liked the way it looked. It had glass in the front. It was just nice, and it was kind of unique. We went and looked at it. My son Sam was home. He was still in tech school at the time, so he was home. It was at Christmas time. We went and looked at it, brought it home. Oh, beautiful. Paid $250 for it. It's a really nice stove. But we had really nothing to put it on. That section of the floor in the next room over was just concrete. Yeah. So I had this idea that, well, we need to build a hearth to put this on, because prior to that, there was just a block chimney that I had built, and it was done kind of quickly for the first wood stove that we had in there, which goes way back, way back, when that was just a garage. And the idea was, let's run the wood stove in there, and then we'll push the heat into the house. But then what we wound up doing was finishing out the garage and making it into like a family room. Had to take the garage door off and put windows on the south side, and now there's a sliding glass door in there, and we had to break out some of the house so we could, access the house. So it was a big project. But anyway, when that stove was installed, I could see right off that we need a hearth here. And I had built a hearth before at another house that I had, but I really didn't know what I was doing. I was inspired by something I had seen in between duty stations. I actually stopped at a friend of mine's house, and he had a Romanian. This is Joe Greniak, kid I grew up with. He had a Romanian guy that was building a hearth or like a fireplace in this really big house that they were building. I mean, this house was big, seemed big to me anyway at the time. And Joe was telling me that this guy is over here from Romania, and every day is like Christmas to him. And when I saw him, he didn't speak English, but I watched him work, and he was just as happy as he could be, fitting stones where they go. And I thought, I wanted to do that. I wanted to be happy like that. And so when I got to Montana, I bought a house, got a wood stove. I'm going to build a hearth. Didn't need it, but I just thought, I'm going to do that. Problem was, I didn't have any land, and stones were hard to come by. I had to go to a river and kind of steal stones. Actually, I went to the Missouri River, and I would get stones. I'd get five or so and bring them home, and then get five more and bring them home, and built a hearth and put my wood stove on it. It was in the basement, and I could heat the house with it. Not completely, but sometimes. I've always liked doing that, heating with wood. I've just always thought it was really cool. It's one of my favorite things to do. Anyway, when I built this hearth for this wood stove, as I was building it, I thought, there's got to be a better way to recover heat from the pipe that goes up into the chimney. There's got to be a way. And then I started thinking about aviation, how we have these different systems of heat recovery off of, like, say, the exhaust system, and heat recovery from an air-cooled engine, let's say, and on it goes. Turbine engines, how you recover heat, bleed air off, and you use it for different things. And on and on and on it went. And then I devised this plan, how I would recover heat off of the stack going out, the exhaust stack. But I didn't want to recover too much off of it, because if you cool it down too much, then you'll have a problem. And I came up with an idea, and I thought, well, if I regulate the airflow, then I can determine how much cooling I'm going to do of the gases that are leaving. And, I could regulate it. So I came up with a system, and I have to show this to you, because I built this system and then it didn't work. It didn't work. But let me show you how this is. All right, so I'm going to draw the chimney. This is a block chimney, and it's solid up to here, and then from here up, it's the flue. And it goes out of the house. Okay? So I tap into it right here. Yeah, okay. Oh, wait a minute. No. Okay, so here's the firebox. It's sitting on a stone hearth. You just have to simulate that, so you can just imagine that that's stone. Yeah, you can see that all right. This pipe right here, when I put a temp gauge on that, it sometimes gets up around 300 degrees. So that's a lot of heat that I'm losing, and it's just going out to atmosphere. I'm losing it. It's not being recycled into the house. So what I did is I put a shroud around here. So the exhaust pipe is 6 inches, and this shroud is 8 inches. And it goes down into the hearth, the stone hearth, and then it comes out over here. And this is not going to be exactly accurate. It's actually straight back, but in order for you to see it, I'm just going to say it comes out here. And then I built a bench. And this bench has block tablets on it. And the idea of the bench is I put a fan right here that would blow air this direction. Failure. Pink. Why not? Blow air in this direction. Into this bench. And the bench is like 2 feet high. It's 2 feet wide. And it's about 6 feet long. So you could lay down on that bench if you want to. You could put your gloves on there if you need to dry them off, whatever. So the air is going to be pulled down here alongside of the exhaust pipe. And it's air from in the house that's being pulled down there. And so the air coming out of the wood stove, or the gases coming out of the wood stove, are going to be 300 degrees. After we pull this air down across them, we're going to take off something like 100 degrees. And we can easily test that because I can put a temp probe here where it's coming out of the stove, and I can put a temp probe here, and I can get a differential of temperature differential. I hope that's big enough for you to see. Okay, but my thought was that this air blowing out of here would heat up this bench. These tablets on this bench, they're heavy. Each one of them is about 80 pounds. But it didn't. You put your hand on that bench, and it'd actually be cold. When I would put the temp probe here on the air coming out of this fan, it would be 115 degrees. And yet these blocks would still be cold. And I could not figure out what was going on there, because my goal was to make a bench there where Jill could lay down and take her naps, right? She likes to take a nap sometimes. And I'm just thinking, those tablets being warm like that, you lay down on those, I would think that it would be really nice. Matter of fact, let me finish the story. So last night, I've been asking myself, why is that not working? Why is that not working? Why is that not working? And then I don't know. I don't have a reason for why I did this, but I went out and I got stones and I put them in here. I stacked them up in here. I stacked all these stones up. And I'm talking like, 30 pounders. I stacked them all up in here. Quite a few of them. It will still take more, and when I get a minute, I'll get a few more. That's on my list for tomorrow. When I did that, within about 20 minutes, we were at 106 degrees Fahrenheit. And I still don't know why. Because I put temp probe on this. It's coming out at about 115, 110, 115. Now you put your hand on those rocks, and those rocks are about 115. They're actually a little too warm. If you picked them up, you'd have to put them down. About 120 degrees is what you can tolerate on a rock, is what we've seen. And we know these things because the kids routinely put rocks on top of the wood stove, and then they wrap them up in a towel and take them up to bed with them. Yep, they do that. So if it's 120 degrees, I can pick it up, but I have to put it down. If it's 130 degrees, I touch it and it's, that's too hot. I can't do that. But about 120, I can pick it up and put it to 110. I can cradle it. Got to move it around a little bit, right? So about 10 o'clock last night is when I said to Rachel, you got to come over here and sit down on this. This is unbelievable. So she came over and sat down on it. She says, oh, I like this. And then she laid down on it. And the next thing, it's almost 11 o'clock, and Jill's like, Rachel, you could probably go up to bed. You'd sleep a little bit better. And she wakes up and she's groggy, and she's just laying on stone. It's just stone. Okay, Ghost says, yeah, heat transfer. Same thing with cooling a beer, Wart. You can cool a liquid quicker with above zero water than you can with sub-zero air. Yeah, I don't know. That's not clicking with me. I'm not sure what that is. The only thing that that even starts to make a little bit of sense, if you have a flame going, let's say a propane flame, and you put your hand out from that flame, let's say it's like this, yeah, you can feel it, but you have that flame hit a refractory, let's say, like in a chicken brooder, the the hover heaters that we have, the propane flame comes up and it hits a refractory, and then it makes a radiant heat. So I believe that's what we've done. We've, instead of the 115-degree air coming out of there just heating air, now we're heating rocks. And so maybe when it heats the air, it just dissipates quicker. But where does it go? I'm not sure I understand that. Doesn't matter that much to me. But what does matter is it's working. Now it's working. And, this is a project that I started 3 years ago and had this idea, built these benches, and people have come and said, oh, those benches are nice. They heated? Can you sit down? Well, you can, but you got to sit on a blanket. And even if you have a blanket and it's too thin, it's like laying on a piece of concrete. It kind of pulls the cold out of you. Yeah. So anyway, we got it going, and I just, it's one of those things. But to think outside the box on this, I haven't seen a recovery system like that. I haven't. Now, I've seen, Luann said something about the rocket stoves. I've seen that. I've seen rocket stoves, and I was actually looking at one just a little bit ago because it caught my eye. A rocket stove that you use those pellets in, and I thought that'd be pretty neat if you didn't have to have electricity to run it. So, and there's a company that makes one. It's commercially made, and you can put a bag of pellets in it, and it will burn, I guess, for quite a long time. But it burns full on, so it makes a lot of heat. And I don't know. I'm still just kind of thinking about another separate form of heat for the house. What I wound up doing with this in years past, so I'm blowing 115 degrees Fahrenheit of air out of that exhaust fan. And what I did is I put it in a pipe and I blew it up into the front room. And you could go over there and you could hit it with the heat gun. And yeah, you're getting 110 degrees, you're getting 100 degrees coming up. And if you put your hand right over it, you could feel it. But it really wasn't doing much. In my opinion, it wasn't doing much to that room. Right. So when I discovered this last night, I said, I think what we'll do is we'll put a vent from the back of that bench, and it will actually vent right into this room. So this room will be heated from henceforth. This room will be heated. If I leave the door open, it's heated. But as soon as I get it insulated, and then you don't mind heating it because you're not just heating a cold room. It's just going to sap it out of the house. So anyway, that was a out of the box thought process. And if I were to draw this up and take this to someplace and say I'm going to do this, they'd say, "Oh, you can't do that. That's not the code. That's not the code." And somebody would say, "Well, this is what could happen here," and you'd have to talk. So I think, here I go again in my rant about, yeah, I guess, Ghost, I think you're right. Air is just a poor way to transfer heat. Liquids and solids do way better. Okay, I go with that. Luann's saying, I know someone who makes them out of aircrete. He has a YouTube channel, aircrete. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I want to have an alternate form of heat, and I'm kind of leaning towards a small propane heater to go in the front room, one of those ones that is vented and has a thermostat on it that you can set a thermostat on the wall. And I like the old-fashioned looking ones, and there's a really nice place for it. So I'm kind of leaning towards that because then it gives us the ability to just shut down the wood stove or let it go out, turn that on, and it'll keep the house at 50 degrees if we have to go someplace. We haven't really done that. It just doesn't really come to fruition because we always have someone home because of the animals. But if I could relieve whoever's staying here the burden of keeping the wood stove going all the time, then it would be less they'd have to worry about. So I think I'd like that. Honeydew Carpenter. He was in the military too. He's quite clever. Honeydew Carpenter. I'm going to write that down, Lou. Okay, I got that. Okay, Crunchy Mama, right on. I think there was something in Mollison's permaculture book regarding thermal mass heaters. Good stuff. Yeah, I noticed this morning too. I must have put 500 pounds of rocks in there. And when I got up this morning, I went over to that bench. The stove was almost out. There was coals in there. And we went to bed early last night. So let's see, it was like, well, it wasn't really early. It was 11 o'clock. So 12, 1, 2, 7 hours. Came out at 6 this morning. And it was still, there was enough coals in there that when I opened up the draft, it took right off. But the bench with all those rocks in it was still quite warm. It was like 93 degrees. So you sat down on it and you knew it. So what happens is if there's, heat will move from heat to cool, right? So if there's heat in the rocks and the air temperature in the room is cooling off, it will permeate into the air temperature. So that's what was going on. All right. Anybody else have anything to add about thinking outside of the box? I can think of some ways that we've done that. I mean, how many farms incorporate a butcher shop on the farm? And then how many butcher shops incorporate advanced cooking methods in the butcher shop? A lot of butcher shops do smoking, but how many of them do charcuterie and sausage making and things like that? I don't know. Maybe there's more out there than I know of, but I haven't heard of it. And our mode of thinking is, what's next? What's next? And this is why I'm kind of set on this idea of the new America 2.0. Yeah, I think you're going to have the breakdown of the system, the Babylonian system that they call it, right? Yeah, I think so. I think you are. So what's going to take its place? So places that produce food, that's a good place to start right there. Now, on the farm, you could have a bicycle shop. You could have a barber shop. You could have a butcher shop. You could have an accounting service. You could have a chiropractic service. You could have an infirmary. You could have a church if you wanted to. The sky is the limit, what you can have on the farm. But our mindset has always been, now churches are in town. Barber shops, town. Ice cream shops, town. That's in town. We go to town. The pizza shop, it's in town. How come we don't have pizza shops out here on the farm? If I had a pizza shop here and we served a pizza that's every bit as good as the pizza that they serve in town, you're telling me people wouldn't come to the farm to buy a pizza? Of course they would. Of course they would. Now, because what's happened the last couple of years? The paradigm has been shattered. It's been shattered. Oh, you get you go to the hospital when you're sick. Oh no, not me. Not me. uh-uh. Oh, good food comes from the store. It does. Oh yeah. Yeah, customer service is job one at Walmart. Oh really? Oh really? So things are changing. The paradigm has just been absolutely shattered. And so when the paradigm is shattered, then the guardrails are down. So imagine this. Let's say, I'm not kidding when I say this, but let's say you uh, can somebody do something about that dog? Let Shotgun will do it. Let's say that you're a person that has always wanted to um, own a hospital. I don't know. I've never wanted to, but let's say you wanted to. And so you're on the homestead. And this might sound a little crazy, it even does to me, because it's so far outside of what we think. But hospitals are privately owned. So there's somebody that owns that hospital. And what do they do as the owner of the hospital? We got to get some employees. Who do you employ? Doctors, nurses, people to clean the toilets, people to cook the food for the patients, the customers. And then what else do you do? Hey, we sell stuff there. We sell lots of stuff. What kind of stuff? Oh, we sell bandages. We sell, you name it, right? And so we don't think about it like it's a business. But why couldn't you build a hospital on your homestead? It's private. It's got 6 beds. Um, and then we need to hire a doctor. Well, at this point in time, that maybe is not like if I went through the book and I found a doctor and I said, I haven't tried it, but let's say I did. I know a guy, he's an army doctor, an ENT type guy. And I said, hey, if you can help me out here, I can make sure that you guys eat if things get tough. And if he's a thinking man, he might say, I'll take you up on that. Of course, what limits him? He's a licensed doctor. So can he just come to a farm and work at an infirmary? I don't know. Maybe he can if he's a guy that does house calls. Maybe he could. But then again, maybe we don't really need a doctor. Are there people that are good healers that are not, haven't been to medical school? I think so. Think so? I think I know so. I think what you'd want to do in an infirmary situation is set up a quiet place. Have you ever stayed at a hospital? It's a nut house. How can you get well at a hospital? You got a nurse coming in every hour on the hour to make sure you're still alive. How can you sleep? They shake you. You doing okay? You feeling okay? Yeah. Can I get some sleep? Yeah. Yeah. I'll be in an hour. How about leave me alone? Shut the door. Turn the TV off. And all kinds of noise, and it's I've stayed in hospitals before. Yeah. Yeah. So it's an example. It's an example, and maybe that's a little on the extreme. Let's see what we got in here. Most farmers are probably too intimidated by licensing and permits to incorporate those things. Everything will be communities going forward, says Luann. Luann gets it. Hugh Hefner had his own doctor in the mansion. Yes. Hey, Hugh Hefner, along those lines, like, why couldn't I have a Hooters right here on Baker's Green Acres? Why not? I could. Mark, I sent you a new technology used by the naturopath at Mount Pleasant months ago. Incredible results. Vets are free. Really? I wonder if that's Basheen. Is that Basheen Baker? I've never met her. I just think the name Basheen is uh, is neat. But you see what I'm thinking here. You see what I'm thinking. It's outside of the box that we're currently used to. You know, the hospital. Oh, that's in town, and everything that goes along with the hospital. When you go in the hospital, you do what these ladies with the funny hats on, or these ladies with attitudes now tell you to do. It's the way it's working. That system sucks. It really sucks. It used to be the hospital. Like my mother-in-law wore the nurse's cap and the uniform that went with them, and they specialized in um, customer service, which was a soothing, nurse-like attitude. Now nurses, oh boy, forget it, forget that. Okay, okay. Heart attack recovery at the sausage factory. The Bears. Oh, that's her name. Okay, I've got to meet her, Luann. I keep hearing about her, and I am intrigued. Actually, I'm very intrigued with that woman. She trained the naturopath that treated my family for years, Susan Gilbert, and that Susan Gilbert has disappeared. We have not heard from her in a couple of years. She's just disappeared. So, Basheen, if I had two Jills, I would send one of them down there to train with her. But unfortunately, I don't. But now somebody like that is a healer, but she's not an MD. Like, do you have to have an MD? I don't know. Do we really have to have all the pharmaceuticals that we have? Will something else work? Yeah, we know the answer to that, of course. All right. So just about any industry that there is could be run off of the farm. It really could. An accounting service, food. Oh man, just adult education, um, childhood education, a one-room schoolhouse. You name it, could be run off of the private property settlement. And I think that's where we're going. That's where I'm going. And I'm not waiting for anybody else to ride their coattails there. That's what I'm doing now. And I've told you guys, well, maybe I didn't. Maybe I said I was going to tell you, but the new butcher shop that we're building, oh, we're actually using it right now, and it's not even complete because that's just how we do things. I mean, there's welding equipment in there, and there's sides of beef hanging up, but we can do that because we're not hemmed in by any kind of person from a department to say you can't have an engine in the same room with a half a beef. I'm sure they would. I'm sure they'd see something wrong with that, but it's my half a beef and it's my engine. So I say it's okay. So that means it's okay. And I'm going to eat it. So mind your own business. Actually, they have no business on my farm. So the old butcher shop, many of you have been in there. It's actually two rooms because when it started off, it was a very small room, probably about the size of this room. And all it really was it had been a foundation, and we were butchering chickens on it. Our town veterinarian pulled in and saw what we were doing and said, "Oh, would you do the youth show's chickens?" Yeah, I guess so. What's the youth show? And so that's where it all began for us. So then we put walls and a roof over it. Then we put windows in it, and then we insulated it, and then we ran water to it, and then we put electricity in it. So it was all these steps to get it where it is now, and now it's way too small for what we're doing. And so that building, the butcher shop, and then the outer shop is going to be refitted into a kitchen, and the kitchen will be for canning workshops. It'll be for canning, just for our farm. Maybe we'll let other people use it. It'll be like a commercial kitchen, have a dishwasher in it, and 3-compartment sink, and a nice oven, and stove units, and microwave, and all the stuff, pots, pans, all that stuff. And then the outer shop is going to be a combination store cafe. So it'll be the store on one end, just like a general store, and then on the other side, by the windows. Okay. Get. Go on. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but they have to sit right there and bark at the wind. And but there'll be the store part of it. So right now, when people stop to get milk and stuff, there was a refrigerator outside, but it's too cold outside, so we had to move it in. And it will eventually get moved into the store slash cafe. And the cafe will be useful when we do our adult education classes, because some of them are 3-day classes and 2-day classes. So we have to feed people. And right now we're using the house and the kitchen in the house and the dining room in the house to feed people. And that's okay, but it puts a lot of stress on, the house. And now with grandchildren and all that stuff, that's not going to work. So we really need a different venue for the adult education. And then from there, who knows? We may want to do like farm to fork dinners, which I think would be kind of nice. If people want to come and you offer them, you can have chicken or steak, that's it. And then bring whatever you're drinking, and we'll give you a hay ride, and then you can pet a cow. And it's so far different from, when you go out to eat in town, you can go to a nice place and you get the same food that comes off the truck that you get at Ruby Tuesdays. And we go to Ruby Tuesdays all the time because we've gone to the place that's 30% more, and it's like the same food. And the nicer place isn't even open all the time. So Ruby Tuesdays is open all the time, and they got a nice salad bar, where the other place doesn't have a nice salad bar. So I'm not slamming Ruby Tuesdays. I'm just saying, if you want something completely different around here, I really don't know where you go. Jill and I were out the other night, and what did we do? We had some things we had to get. And so we went out, and standard operating procedure is if we're out and it gets to be like 6 o'clock, it's like, hey, we want to get something to eat. And she was like, it's up to you. I'm not really hungry. And I thought, it's fun to sit in a restaurant and have somebody bring you coffee and you talk and stuff, but I kind of know how I'm going to feel riding home. I'm going to be lighter by about $50. And when I get home, I'll say, you know what? Our food is way better here than at Ruby's. Nothing against Ruby Tuesdays, but so we said, no, let's go home. And so we did. We came home, and she made me a steak. So. All right. I am setting up an app with her. Okay. MDs will be history. Will be jailed. So if we think of along those lines, I think we can come up with some really out there ideas. Um, I'm looking at Crunchy Mama here, thinking, you guys are so far off the reservation that you were on when I met you, right? You just, I don't know as you had that idea in mind where you are now. I mean, that is radically different than when I very first met you. And for the record, I'm real happy that you are where you are and doing what you're doing. I'm real proud to say that I know those guys. Okay, what do we got here? Almost expected to hear a bang there. Yeah, I tell you what, sometimes they get to you. They're annoying. But I can't really run the farm without them. We cannot have that amount of poultry out on the field without the guardian dogs. And so I have a 22 pistol that I put these loads in, these blank loads that you use for the driver. These. And they make a pretty good bang. And sometimes I do that. I open the door and I shoot it. And they run because they do not like that. They don't like it being directed at them. Comfort Farms in Georgia is vet run and has implemented many of the ideas you speak of. They must be copying me. Crunchy Mama says, you ain't seen nothing yet. I figured. Yeah, I figured. All right. Okay, we've gone an hour and a half. I hope I covered what I wanted to. I hope that makes people think a little bit about, the direction that we're going and what it's going to take for America 2.0 to pull things out of the fire. It's really up to us. It's not going to be done for us. It never was. And the state that we're in, we've allowed it. We really have allowed it. So this week, there will not be a consulting call tomorrow night. We're going every other week right now. Last week we had a dynamite call. It was really cool. We covered a lot of ground. We went almost 2 hours because we had a couple of new people on. They're not new, but like Tim Milano, he was kind of new. It was a very exciting call. He was a guy that we did consulting with. And he was like, well, I'm a chiropractor. I'd like to run my business from, but, it's hard to get people to come from town out to the farm. And I'm not sure what to do. And he was like, well, I think I want to get into butchering because he'd taken one of our butchering classes too. And he was going to do it in town. He was going to open up a butchery in town. And I strongly advised against that. And I think he took my advice and he opened it up on private property on his place. And he was reporting to us how many beef he'd done, how many goats he'd done, how many pigs he'd done. And it was, it's a moment where you get to say, okay, well done. You've done what you said you wanted to do and you've done it with pride. And that's, what more can you ask? Press on is what you say. Press on. Keep doing it. Get better at it. Become more proficient. Build your confidence. Build your community. And now he's got people coming to his farm. I believe he could open up his chiropractic office on the farm. It's not that far away. It's 5 miles outside of town. It's not that far. But you got to get people trained. Oh, I got to go get adjusted. I get to go to the farm. I'll bring the kids with me. They can pet some goats or something. And heck, Tim could set up a fenced-in yard with a swing set and a sandbox in there, so mom can go in and get adjusted, and the little kiddies can play around in a place where she can see from where she's getting adjusted. There they are. They're right there. Maybe. I don't think that's exactly thinking outside the box. I think that's been done before, but. You ain't seen nothing yet. We're having too much fun. It is a good time, isn't it? I wish you guys lived in the next town over, but maybe it's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, I think it is the way it's supposed to be. I was actually thinking of you guys today because Amy made some signs, Amy and Sean both. Sean overachieved on these signs for the campsite, and Amy did the painting on them, just numbers, and some of them got put out and some of them didn't. And some of them are still sitting on the workbench in there, just the way she left them. So I was thinking of you guys. And there's also a card that she sent at one point, and it made it to one of the shelves in there. So from time to time, I see your faces. All right, the ghost is saying, yes, Merry Christmas to everyone. Oh, that's right. It's coming up. It's coming up this weekend. So the next time we meet, no, we'll be meeting again this Thursday. And we're going to be doing an interview with a woman by the name of Neethi Bali. And Neethi runs a food buying club in, I think, Georgia. Could it be Atlanta, in the Atlanta area? I think. And anyway, we'll be talking to her. She's got a lot of things to share. She's part of the Polyface crowd. She spends a lot of time down there at Polyface, or up there from her. Yeah, and so she knew them quite a bit better than I did. So that should be an interesting interview. I haven't talked to her in a couple of years, but she's always a lot of fun. Okay. Like Penny dreams, we have to lead the way. Well, leadership is really an attitude of, well, I'm picking a direction for myself. Oh, you want to come? All right, well, step in my footsteps if you want to. But I'm going anyway. I'm not waiting for anybody else to go with me. I don't need anybody to hold the light. I can do it myself. And that is what leadership is. And leadership in the position that I'm in now is actually a breeze compared to leadership within the military community, because I didn't always have passion for what I was doing within the military. Like, most of the time I didn't. And I knew it needed to be done. There were times when I streamlined a process and I got passionate about that. And then my bosses would say, hey, he knows how to do that. Send him. He can do it. That made me passionate. But not like this. This is a very passion-driven career field. All right. So very good. Appreciate everybody coming by. I really dig the Tuesday night chats. Let's press on. Get out there, get your farming on, and please remember, anyone can farm. And when you're doing your Christmas shopping, what you should do is people that you love and you want to see them progress, buy them a Tribe Plus membership, okay? And help keep this ministry going. Appreciate it.